across India, live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Global. We'll get your top stories from India and the region. I am Tanvi Taneja, and for news from the rest of the world, I'm joined by my colleague in Washington, D.C., Benji Haya. Benji, good evening from New Delhi.
Yes, 10 a.m. here in Washington, 3 in the afternoon across Central Europe. Coming up in the next 30 minutes, breaking news from New York in former US President Donald Trump's trial, and also from the UK, King Charles making his first public appearance since being diagnosed with cancer.
So first, the headlines. Donald Trump fined $2,000 for contempt and $8,000 for violating the gag order in the historic criminal hush money trial in New York. G7 agrees to phase out coal in power generation by 2035, but with a caveat, Germany and Japan granted maneuvers as coal-fired plants produce more than one-fourth of their total electricity. And Israel will enter Rafah in South Gaza to eliminate Hamas with or without a ceasefire and hostage release deal, says Prime Minister Netanyahu. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken meets Jordan's King Abdullah II and his counterpart in Amman. So energy ministers from the G7 nations have agreed to end operations of their coal-fired power plants by mid-2030s. This declaration came with a caveat though. Diplomatic sources said Germany and Japan have been granted maneuver as coal-fired plants produce more than one-fourth of their total electricity. The G7's decision comes following global efforts to slowly transition from fossil fuels and follows a resolution made at 2023's COP28 summit to phase out the use of coal power gradually. The G7 nations have also reiterated their commitment to invest in innovative technologies, including biofuels, and to cut down Russian energy revenues to support Ukraine. G7 heads of states adopted a joint declaration to fight the production, distribution, and sale of illicit drugs. The G7 leaders have committed to leading international efforts to dismantle drug trafficking, particularly synthetic drugs with devastating effects such as fentanyl, seize the illicit proceeds derived from drug dealing, and preventing drug addiction, especially among youngsters. The G7 also encouraged all nations concerned to take action against suppliers of the chemical precursors used to produce these illegal substances. The declaration follows the adoption 2 months ago in Italy of a national plan against the illicit use of fentanyl. And for more on this story, DD India's Giles Gibson has filed this report from Rome.
If you look at the communiqué that's just been released by these G7 foreign ministers in Turin, there is no clear roadmap over how exactly they're going to reach this goal. There is talk about taking concrete and timely steps to achieve this goal. They also say that they want to see the International Energy Agency, the IEA, release a report in 2025 on exactly how countries within the G7 and around the world as well should be phasing out their remaining coal-powered power stations. But really, I think a big chunk of this, in terms of getting rid of coal, is going to be boosting the share that renewable energies have in these countries and in their energy mix. And there are pledges in this statement from the G7 ministers as well, talking about boosting energy storage to 1,500 gigawatts by 2030. And raising energy storage is seen as a really important part of raising the capacity of wind and solar, because of course you need a way to store up that energy when the sun is not shining, when the wind is not blowing, so that those power stations can keep energy flowing into the grid.
Next on to West Asia. In the latest on the Israel-Hamas conflict, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that they will carry out an operation against Hamas in the southern Gaza city of Rafah, regardless of a ceasefire and hostage release deal. Israel is yet to dispatch a team to Cairo on Tuesday for discussions with Hamas on the latest ceasefire plan in Gaza. A Hamas delegation has already concluded talks with Egyptian mediators and left Cairo on Monday. They will return for talks with a written response to the proposed truce by Israel. Now, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in Amman, Jordan. He met King Abdullah II and Foreign Minister Ayman al-Safadi in Amman. Their talks focused on halting Israel's conflict on Gaza. Blinken will head to Israel on Wednesday, where he will meet Benjamin Netanyahu and his war cabinet in Tel Aviv, as well as visit Gaza, the aid-related sites in particular. On to the U.S. now. Former U.S. President Donald Trump's criminal trial on charges of falsifying business records to conceal a hush money payment made to an adult star resumes in New York today. My colleague Benji Haya is in Washington, D.C. He gives us more on this breaking news and all other stories making headlines around the world. Benji, Trump finally being issued fines in the hush money trial?
That's right, coming after he called the judge conflicted. We're now on week 2 of this historic trial. Former President Donald Trump, his court appearance back underway in New York. The 9th day of this trial, continuing with more testimonies from Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen's former banker, Gary Farrow. He'll testify on a $130,000 hush money payment allegedly made to the adult film star Stormy Daniels. The payment's at the heart of the prosecutor's case of charging Donald Trump with 34 counts of falsifying business records as part of a scheme, they say, to influence the outcome of the 2016 presidential election.
So we're here. This is a hoax. This is a judge who's conflicted. Badly, badly, badly conflicted. I've never seen a judge so conflicted. And giving us virtually no rulings. I hear I'm not even allowed to say advice of counsel. This is a new one to me, advice of counsel. When you have a lawyer and the lawyer does something or advises you on something.
Well, DD&D's Ira Spitzer joined us live from New York with more. Ira, comments like that, getting the former president into hot water, being landed with a fine in the past couple of minutes. What else can we expect from New York today?
Well, we've had a flurry of activity to open this 3rd week of the former president's criminal trial here in New York City. And immediately, the judge in the case, Juan Merchan, issuing a $9,000 fine against Donald Trump for 9 violations of that gag order, which precludes him from making disparaging remarks about the jury and other people involved in this case. So he will have to remove those social media posts from his network, his social media network, Truth Social, in the next few hours, as well as his website, according to the judge's order about that gag violation. Now, of course, $9,000, not necessarily very much for somebody of Donald Trump's wealth, but certainly the judge sending a message here about what would happen potentially if he continues to violate that gag order. And the big testimony today, as you mentioned earlier, is from Michael Cohen's former banker, Gary Farrow. And according to reporters who are on scene in that courtroom, the prosecution has already begun questioning Gary Farrow about an account that he allegedly opened, or he did open, on behalf of Michael Cohen in the buildup to the 2016 election, in which Apparently, Michael Cohen opened a home equity line of credit, received $131,000 in a very quick transaction, and Gary Farrow apparently testifying that there was no mention of this being for a political campaign or anything like that. So certainly a mysterious transaction, at least from what that witness has said so far in court today. So we'll expect more of that, as well as certainly a lot more to look forward to in this trial, with the upcoming testimony at some point from Donald Trump's former fixer, Michael Cohen himself.
And a main feature of this trial so far, Ira, has been those comments down the corridor by Donald Trump. I mean, some of the remarks that has landed him with that fine, in part, as well as the social media posts. What's he been saying in past hours? Has he directly attacked, for example, his former lawyer? What is his attitude and sentiments going into this week of the trial?
Well, speaking ahead of the trial, as he typically does, Donald Trump today called the trial a scam, attacked Judge Merchan, saying that he should recuse himself. So potentially, I don't know if that would be yet another violation of this gag order, but certainly Trump continuing to toe the line in terms of speaking about these criminal charges which he is facing. The former president also complained about the temperature inside of that courtroom, saying he wasn't happy about having to sit in what he called a freezing cold icebox for 8 hours. So Trump, of course, every day, or at least every day where the trial is taking place, does have to be in person, so has these chances to make remarks to the media and others, both ahead of and then following these long courtroom days.
Ira, thank you. Ira Spitzer in New York, and we'll have more developments, I'm sure, on that trial, one of 4 criminal trials that Donald Trump faces potentially this year as he vies for the Oval Office again. Let's stay with the former president, because meanwhile, he's not ruled out the possibility of building detention camps on US soil for migrants in the country illegally if he wins a second term at the White House. In an interview with Time magazine, Mr. Trump said he would use National Guard troops to assist in his planned deportation efforts. Trump's made illegal crossings at the US-Mexico border a centerpiece of his campaign against incumbent President Joe Biden. Russian-backed Prime Minister of Crimea, Sergei Aksyonov, says long-range army tactical missile systems were shot down over that region. Crimea's Prime Minister posting a photo on Telegram showing what he described as undetonated submunitions of the missiles. That comes after a US official earlier said that the US had secretly shipped the long-range missiles to Ukraine in recent weeks for use in its conflict with Russia after a huge package of foreign aid, was passed by lawmakers in the US Congress. Italy's unveiling a major economic package focused on temporary tax breaks to firms that will allow the hiring of staff on open-ended contracts and a cash bonus of up to $107 for low earners. It's also expected to raise the tax rate on productivity bonuses of more than $3,200 from 10% to 10% from the current 5%. That is effective from January of next year. Those measures being proposed about a month before elections to the European Parliament. To the UK, and meal delivery companies Deliveroo, Just Eat and Uber Eats are making extra security checks on their riders to step up efforts to cut illegal working. The UK's illegal migration minister, Michael Tomlinson, saying that illegal working had put customers at risk, drove down wages and defrauded the taxpayer. He made those comments after he met the 3 companies on Monday. 42% of riders stopped by an enforcement team in April of last year were found to be working illegally in Britain. Deliveroo's the first to roll out this new substitute registration feature, including the right to work checks. And King Charles resumed his public duties on Tuesday after he was diagnosed with cancer in February earlier this year. The monarch visiting the London Cancer Centre to meet patients and medical specialists. Buckingham Palace announced last Friday that doctors were sufficiently pleased with the 75-year-old king's response to treatment for the unspecified form of cancer. Well, that's it from me here in Washington. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you very much, Benji. Benji Hire joining us from Washington, D.C. Still to come on this edition of DD India Global. We bring you the colours of Morocco's Fez festival, celebrating the spirit of Sufism. And campaigning in full swing ahead of the third phase of India's elections. All that and more on the other side.
Your safety is precious for us, so you must get the pre-delivery inspection done whenever you take LPG cylinder. To ensure much better safety, safety of kitchen gas equipments are being tested in every household. If the safety hose is faulty, get it changed. In case of emergency, call 1906. Clean fuel is our promise. Safe kitchen is our commitment.
As India decides in the world's largest election,
we help you feel the pulse of the nation.
I am Sakal Bhatt.
I am Shubhendu Ghosh.
This election season, join us on a journey of India.
We are in Assam. This is the tea city of India.
From down south, Tamil Nadu.
Discover the colors of democracy.
Gateway to northeast of India.
Coastal state of Kerala. Watch Poll Pulse on DD India.
You're watching DD India Global. I am Tanvi Taneja. Up next, we get you the latest on India's elections. Ahead of the third phase of the Indian general elections, campaigning continues to gain steam on Tuesday. 93 seats, including 11 in Maharashtra, are going to polls on May 7th in the third phase. Senior BJP leader and Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed a public rally in Maharashtra's Madha and Osmanabad region. During his rally in Madha, the Prime Minister said that with the blessings of all our voters, we have been able to provide free food to 80 crore people. Later, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also addressed rallies in Dharashiv and Latur in Maharashtra. After that, the Indian Prime Minister headed to Telangana, where he addressed a public meeting in Zahirabad. In more election updates, BJP candidate from New Delhi Lok Sabha constituency, Bansuri Swaraj, along with Union Minister Hardeep Singh Puri, filed her nomination. Odisha Chief Minister and BJD candidate from Hinjili, Naveen Patnaik, also filed his nomination papers. He is contesting the assembly elections from Kantabanji and Hinjili assembly seats. Opposition's Congress leader Rahul Gandhi addressed a public meeting in Madhya Pradesh's Bhind. 8 seats in the state are going to polls in the third phase. During the rally, he said that this election is a fight of ideologies. On to India's northeastern state of Assam. The Barpeta Lok Sabha constituency is not merely a political battleground, but a vibrant melting pot of Assamese, Bengali and Bodo cultures. Recently, Barpeta's political landscape underwent a seismic shift during the delimitation exercise, setting the stage for a fresh electoral equation. Our correspondent Tapas Bhattacharya has filed this report.
In the heart of Lower Assam lies constituency, a land steeped in rich cultural heritage and historical significance. Home to the Vaishnavite Satra, the political landscape of Barpeta underwent a transformation during the delimitation exercise, reshaping its electoral dynamics. 5 out of 10 assembly segments were newly created, setting the stage for a fresh electoral equation. Traditionally a migrant Muslim majority seat, the reorganization has sparked hopes for a shift in representation after over 2 decades.
Delimitation was the need of an hour. In Barpeta constituency, earlier there was no chance for the local people or the indigenous people to win elections here. After delimitation, you see Nalwari has been included here and Bongaigaon has been included. Some major areas has been included here, which will help the indigenous people of Assam.
Voters here in new 3 Nong Barpeta constituency, there is 19 lakhs voters are there. Out of 19 lakhs, around 12 lakhs Hindus and this 7 lakhs something Muslim. So Muslim voters is something lesser as in comparison with the earlier. So automatically the chance of the Hindu candidate for returning this election is likely to be done.
Now, a triangular electoral battle looms large, with BJP's key ally, Ahom Gana Parishad or AGP entering the fray. AGP's candidate, Phoni Bhushan Chaudhary, Congress's Deep Bayan and CPM's Zonaranjan Talukdar are set to contest fiercely for the coveted seat.
In Barpeta Lok Sabha constituency, a rich cultural heritage collides with the shifting political dynamics post-delimitation. With the triangular battle ahead, hopes arises for a better tomorrow. With camera person Naveen, this is Tapush Bhattacharya from Barpeta for DD India.
Amidst the heat of the election season, India's southern Karnataka state's Hubli town is on the boil following a young Hindu girl's murder by a boy from a different community. The matter has grabbed national headlines and is said to be a hot poll issue. DD India's Ravi Dhiman has more.
As it approaches to vote for the Lok Sabha elections on 7th of May, the town of Hubli in Karnataka is simmering with anger and an eager search for justice. Fighting for space and attention, besides political slogans and banners, are posters of this girl, Neha Hiramat. She is no longer alive, killed mercilessly by a spurned man inside a college campus. Neha's father, Niranjan Hiramat, is a Congress councillor in the Dharwad Hubli Municipal Council. The incident triggered immediate response by various political and social groups. But some statements by the state ministers made the already delicate situation worse.
I want to demand both the governments to take the legal law for this case, Neha law. In this case, we want the justice.
And as Hubli readies to vote, the issue has taken center stage, pushing all other narratives to the sidelines.
हुबली में हमारी एक बेटी के साथ जो कॉलेज कैंपस में हुआ, उसने तो पूरे देश में भूचाल ला दिया है। उस बेटी का परिवार एक्शन की मांग करता रहा, लेकिन कांग्रेस की सरकार तुष्टीकरण का दबाव उसी को प्राथमिकता देती है। उनके लिए नेहा जैसी बेटियों की जिंदगी की कीमत नहीं है, उनको तो अपने वोट बैंक की चिंता है।
The state government has handed over the case to the CID and has also formed a fast-track court to expedite the trial. Fayaz is in custody and the investigations are going on. Elections have propelled this issue to prominence.
It's not the first case of its kind in India, but yet another tragic incident in a series of crimes against girls, deranged, psychic lunatics committing heinous crimes against girls. Election fever in Karnataka has brought this case to the limelight. But the real tribute to Neha and many others before her would be a bigger, sterner legal response to such incidents in future. With camera person Mor Mukut Sharma, Ravi Dhiman in Hubli for DD India.
At least 2 million voters in West Bengal depend on the bidi or hand-rolled cigarettes industry for their livelihood. The industry is on the decline due to several reasons, ranging from high taxes to increased health consciousness. DD India's Gautam Roy reports from Jangipur, West Bengal.
In a bidi factory in Aurangabad, men are hard at work. They do it all, from sorting to roasting and packaging bidis into bundles and packets, for a stagnant monthly pay of around $80. They say they have some social security, but it's only on paper.
हर महीने ESI का रुपया कटता है, लेकिन हमको कोई उसका सुविधा नहीं मिलता है. कोई कार्ड नहीं, कोई चिकित्सा का कोई व्यवस्था नहीं.
Bidis or hand-rolled cigarettes form a major part of the economy of this region around Jangipur constituency, which is going to polls in the third phase of West Bengal on the 7th of May. It employs over 2 million workers, and both the workers and the industry itself have a range of issues in the election season, from low wages to high taxes, and they're becoming a major concern for all political parties in this phase. In villages all around Jangipur, women do nearly 80% of the rolling work in an unorganized work-from-home fashion for local contractors. They get a little over $2 for rolling 1,000 bidis. Most of them can only do 600 to 800 a day and work only a few days a week. After the GST regime was implemented, the bidi industry came under the 28% tax bracket. Its workers also developed health issues, even cancer, due to close proximity with tobacco for years. Rivals blame the TMC-ruled West Bengal government for the sorry state of affairs.
कोई बीड़ी श्रमिक का जो नजर मजूरी नहीं मिला, बीड़ी श्रमिक को सबको पाका मकान होना चाहिए. ये केंद्र का आइन में है, लेकिन ये मिल रहा है जो बीड़ी का साथ जो कोई युक्त नहीं है, उसको मिल रहा है. जो किंग साइज सिगरेट खा रहा है, उसको घर मिल रहा है.
Trinamool Congress's Jangipur candidate and sitting MP Khalilur Rahman is himself a bidi baron. He says he'll address bidi workers and industries issues after the elections.
इलेक्शन के बाद हमारा कोशिश रहेगा कि यूनियन के साथ मालिक एसोसिएशन को बैठा के मजदूरी को सेटल कराना. और जो एग्रीड है वही होगा, वो मजदूर को प्रॉपर मिल रहा है या नहीं मिल रहा है, और ट्रेड यूनियन को देखना चाहिए.
Bidi is also called the poor man's cigarette, and yet livelihoods of millions depend on it. It's an industry in decline, and in poll season is looking for support from elected representatives. In Jangipur, West Bengal, with camera person Uttam Singh, Gautam Roy, DD India.
So after feeling India's poll pulse, we now take a look at what else is happening around the world. The 10th edition of World Water Forum will be held in Bali, Indonesia from May 18th to 25th with the theme Water for Shared Prosperity. Indonesia has sent invitations to 193 member states of UNESCO. So far, more than 100 countries have confirmed their participation. Microsoft's chief, Satya Nadella, informed that Microsoft plans to invest $1.7 billion over the next 4 years in Indonesia. The investment will focus on expanding cloud services and artificial intelligence and building data centers. The 11th edition of the Dubai Food Festival that started on April 19th will continue till May 12th, bringing a plethora of culinary adventures with dozens of restaurants all over the Emirate participating in the festival. Dubai Food Festival features a citywide lineup of culinary experiences, special menus, events and much more. Dadasaheb Phalke, also known as the father of Indian cinema, was a prominent film director, producer and screenwriter who is credited with making India's first full-length feature film. In his honour, the Indian government established the Dadasaheb Phalke Award in 1969 as the highest award for lifetime achievement in Indian cinema. As we observe his birth anniversary, his contribution to Indian cinema remains unparalleled. And Morocco recently held the Fez Festival from April 20th to 27th. The 16th edition of the Fez Festival of Sufi culture and world spiritualities is based on the theme Know Yourself. The week-long festival wove a vibrant tapestry of music, intellectual discourse and artistic expression. That's all in this edition of DD India Global. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can catch all the latest news and updates on our different social media handles as well as on our DD India mobile app. I'm Tanvi Taneja from my entire team in New Delhi. Thank you for being with us. Namaskar.